Hey, I'm Rob Andrejewski, the Director of Sustainability at the University of Richmond, and I'm here today to talk to you about the Gambles Mill Eco Corridor, a great new feature on campus. Image that you see right now, the colorful area is the Eco Corridor, and the up top is the Country Club of Virginia. Below is the IM fields. This is the physical plant. Any students on campus will recognize Tyler Haynes Commons here. If you were on campus just a few years ago, you'd see a very different stream than you see today. In addition to that, there's a lot of invasive species management that went on in this area, as well as a focus on connecting people to the land, and any stream restoration has to focus on stormwater management to be effective. So really, we're just going to start with the stream restoration here. This is a little bit of a blow up, and like I said, so this is the stream down here in blue, Country Club of Virginia up here. This white used to be a road, Gambles Mill Road, that became Gambles Mill Trail after it was close to car traffic decades ago. It's been used for quite a while, but it was in disrepair until the recent restoration. So any stream, in order for it to be healthy, has to interact with the banks around it and so the floodplain, so that when we have a stream surge due to rain, the banks of the stream should not be so high that the water cannot crest over it. Now, most of the time we think about flooding, we don't, in our homes or in our roadways, we don't really want flooding to be happening, but a stream is a different circumstance. What we want is for the water to overflow the banks so that it can percolate through the land and thereby trapping in the phosphorus and nitrogen, bacteria, and sediment in that area. And the water can then flow down cleaner after the rain, after it slows itself down by overflowing the bank into the next largest body of water in the watershed. As you can see from this image, there's quite a bit of erosion that was occurring in Little Weston Creek. It'd be very difficult on the side where the person with the orange vest standing for the water to crest over that area. When we have wide and deep water, when we get a big rain event, and it's been raining quite a bit recently in Richmond, we get water chugging toward the James River with everything that came upstream in it without an opportunity for the land to act as a filter. And so we wanted to change that with Little Weston Creek in order to be better stewards to the James River and the Chesapeake Bay. And so this is what it looked like beforehand. You can see the trail here, and this is the stream. Now, it's a little bit sinuous. It's not completely straight, but it's relatively straight. And so I'm going to show you some time-lapse video that shows taking this, which was wide in some areas and deep in some areas, it's called channelized, and made it into a more sinuous, shallower, more likely to overflow its banks when it rained. And so this process was actually much more intensive. When I had first learned about that we were doing a stream restoration, I didn't really think about all of the heavy equipment and construction that would be required. In order to take the stream out of the equation so that they could grade the land, bring in the heavy equipment, we actually had to pump the water from one section, take these giant hoses and bring it down further. And they did that in a series. So they'd come in, they'd allow the water to flow through this machine. It's basically like a pump on wheels that would then bring the water further down. So you can see here the water being sucked in, and then if you follow this tube all the way up here, it's spilling out further down, which allows these folks to clear this stuff out and grade this area with their heavy equipment. The next step in the process, after they graded it and changed the channel, they actually moved the channel of the stream over quite a few feet to the right in this photo. You can see those S-turns, and you can also see just how narrow the stream is. So the reason for that, like I said earlier, is that so when we do have a rain event, it floods into this area. So that we want this floodplain to function. And there are actually 3 grades. There's the initial floodplain, and then there's one a little bit higher, and there's actually a third one that's just a little bit higher. You'll also notice that there's these little blocks in here there is a fiber netting called coir. It's made from coconut husks that is put over the top of the earth, and then those wooden stakes are put in, and that is to decrease erosion. Stream bank stabilization is essential to any stream restoration project. It's the crux of it, because what we want to make sure of is that the land does not erode further, bringing even more sediment than was coming up from upstream downstream, and in our case into the James River. So we've got this fiber netting on top that seeds are then planted, because ultimately that netting is going to biodegrade, which is really great. And there are thousands of grass seedlings and other water tolerant plants planted there. And so you can actually see them coming up in this next photo. And eventually those wooden stakes will also biodegrade, and you'll just have plants. Now we are going to be planting, in addition to all the grasses and flowers that are there, we're going to be planting 9,000 trees and shrubs in this relatively small area. So we're not going to have these beautiful views of the stream like this in the future. It's going to change over time. Where this was the first opportunity after we had done the initial restoration for them to see what it looked like when we had a rainfall. So you can see the stream starting to fill up, and soon in the early afternoon, the floodplain starts becoming flooded, doing its job. This is exactly what is supposed to happen when it rains. And so by expanding, it slows the flow of the water into the Kanawha Canal, and allows the land, which wants phosphorus and nitrogen to help those plants grow. And then you can see it actually shrink back. Invasive species management is our next thing that we're going to talk about here. And this was a huge part of our project. Back in the day, if you walked the Gambles Mill Trail, this is what you saw as you walked by. So we were really targeting 4 main species, though there were many more. There's Chinese privet, Japanese stiltgrass, English ivy. We had honeysuckle in there. We had multiflora rose, poison ivy, which isn't an invasive species, but it's not something that we like walking through necessarily. So we have a lot of classes that have used this place for years. It's been a teaching site, and it's been critical to education, especially of our geography and environmental studies, biology students for a long time. And we want to welcome as many people as possible, but you kind of had to bushwhack through to get down to the stream. So we brought in the heavy hitters. This is a company called Goat Busters that Rez contracted on our behalf, and it was really amazing to have goats on campus doing what they love to do, which is eat as many green things that they can get their mouths on. Goat browsing, as it's called, is a really wonderful ecological mechanism for reducing brush. And in the case of our invasive species, they were so happy to have at it. So after you remove the invasive species, and then the reason that we wanted to get rid of invasive species is because they threaten the habitat for our native fauna. So the animals that live here have evolved in conjunction with the plants that are native to here. And so when we have invasive species, they outcompete those plants. So the food and shelter that is required for it to be a good habitat isn't there. And so we have a huge loss of diversity, which means that certain other species that, well, a species that maybe their place, their shelter is there, but they don't have anything to live or to eat because that bug can't live here, for example. So we wanted to make sure we plant native species. So we worked with a group called Water Street on the design of this, and they were integral in helping us identify these native plants. We also had lots of great conversations with folks on what we wanted to bring in there. Like I said earlier, by the end of 2021, we'll have planted 9,000 trees and shrubs in the eco corridor. So this is a drone shot that was taken this spring that really shows the sinuosity of the waterway, as well as the really pretty trail. This is the Gamble's Mill Eco Corridor from up on high.